is Cherie Vertigan and I am the Executive Secretary of the ICP. Today it is my honour to introduce one of the newest members of ICP, Silvia Saraco. Silvia comes from Brazil and today she presents us with how her school and her community have adapted to the challenge of living during the COVID-19 endemic. Can I please take this opportunity to advise participants to post questions in the Q&A widget to the side of the screen. Questions will be answered either during or after the session, and all questions will be forwarded to the presenters. Enjoy Silvia's presentation.
Hello, my name is Silvia Saraco, Principal at the Escola Bosque here in São Paulo. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you all the way from Brazil. And now I'm going to share my screen and show you how we are dealing with COVID-19 crisis in our school and applying adaptive leadership. Okay. Brazil is a beautiful and very diverse country. To have an idea, it's just a little bigger than Australia, 10%. But the huge difference is the population. While Australia has about 25 million, Brazil has 210 million people. São Paulo, the city where I live, has almost Australia's entire population. Greater São Paulo has 22 million people. In my city, we concentrate 23% of the Brazilian population. So imagine live in a huge city like this during the pandemic. Many states here have vulnerable communities, and the COVID-19 crisis widened the gap between the private and public education. The stark inequality of the country has created two parallel realities for children and teenagers. In private education, students needed to adapt to a new learning environment, while children from public school faced the challenge of learning with no devices or internet connection and trying to maintain nutrition without their free school lunches. The situation is worst in these vulnerable communities where big families live in small spaces. We had a 30% increase in domestic violence, especially against children. Brazil, it's a country marked by intense digital and educational inequalities. And in the current context of COVID-19, such inequalities are accentuated. Despite such inequalities, remote learning has imposed itself to our schools. Now, with the pandemic, we are facing a huge social and economic challenge. And talking about our schools, the school's closure started middle March, and we still close it by now. It's one of the longest in the world, more than 6 months. As a huge country, we have different realities in different regions of Brazil. Here in São Paulo, the outbreak epicenter, the situation is not over yet. The number of infected people is dropping, but the situation is still complicated. Our school year goes from February to December. In July, we have our winter break. It's 30 days. So imagine a school year with 6 months off and with no perspective ahead. Some schools had opened in other Brazilian cities, but in São Paulo, it seems that we are not going to resume the classes this year. We had 108,000 schools closed, and 47 million students trying to adapt to distance learning. However, unequal access to internet, computer, and digital tools for low-income students created a huge challenge. These low-income students are more likely to drop the school. São Paulo started broadcasting public education classes by radio, TV, and they also launched an application in order to help students learn. 70% of the students are in public schools, and the private sector is just 30%. We know that many teachers, especially from public schools, were not familiar with the use of technology for pedagogical purposes, and they are trying to learn as they try to teach remotely. Brazil is facing difficult times in areas where we are already fragile, like quality education for all. But fortunately, the private schools have a different reality, and we are trying to make a difference, offering quality education, especially in São Paulo, where we have excellent schools. Adaptive learning is a practical framework that helps individuals and organizations adapt and thrive in challenging environments. And we are living in unprecedented times. And as a school leader, I understand more than ever the importance of a good and adaptive leadership. In a recent article on Harvard Business Review, they brought 5 principles to guide adaptive leadership. The key concepts of adaptive leadership framework were created by Ron Heifetz and Marty Linsky at the Harvard Kennedy School. And more than ever, we need these concepts because we are now living a totally new reality. COVID-19 is constantly evolving, with leaders at ourselves facing unpredictability, imperfect information, multiple unknowns, and the need to identify responses quickly. All of that while recognizing the multidimensional health-related, economic, social, political, educational, cultural nature of the crisis. And in order to respond to this crisis, we need to apply adaptive leadership, which involves what we refer at the 4 A's: anticipation, or try to see future needs, trends, and options. Articulation of these needs to build collective understanding and support for action. Adaptation, so that there is continuous learning and the adjustments of responses as necessary. Accountability, including maximum transparency in decision-making processes and openness to challenges and feedback. The 5 common principles to guide this kind of adaptive leadership across COVID-19 are: first, ensure evidence-based learning and adaptation. Adaptive leadership means constantly assess our actions, recognizing that we have to continuously adapt or intervene as we learn more and more about the outcomes of our decisions. This requires clear processes for determining the best options for action, collecting, interpreting, and acting on evidence, including defining a set of key measures for determining success or failure, and ensure ongoing collection of relevant data. The learning process must be open and diverse to be effective. Second, we have to stress test underlying theories, assumptions, and beliefs. A stress test ensures that we can deal with future crises, with assumptions and hypotheses guiding an adaptive response and simulating different possible scenarios. We have to streamline deliberative decision making. As school leaders and decision makers, we need to be clear about what we are basing our assumptions and hypotheses on. We need to explain and understand what is being done and why, how the decision was made, so we can identify errors and trust in the processes. We have to strengthen transparency, inclusion, and accountability. Ongoing real-time assessment of the responses needed help us maximize learning, adjust decisions, and minimize errors. The best adaptive leaders have to recognize mistakes and often find in them learning opportunities. As school leaders, we need to commit to share our thinking in every stage and act in an open and transparent way. And more than that, when we acknowledge our fallibility, we demonstrate that we can be trusted. And then we have to mobilize collective action. The COVID-19 is a global crisis and encompasses economy, social and political aspects. And for schools, it's also a complex and challenging situation that requires changes in behaviors and relationships. Collective actions in this regard include dialogue across a range of stakeholders. What we are doing during this crisis will have repercussions for years to come. And these 5 principles of adaptive leadership are not just vital to guide our immediate responses. They will also be vital for shaping long-term recovery and resilience plans. I like this. Our future must be uncertain, but this uncertainty is at the heart of the human creativity. We have to be creative, especially during these times. And now I'm going to explain how we are applying these adaptive leadership principles during these processes. As I mentioned it before, our school is a private school, and we are offering distance learning to our students from 2 to 14 years old since mid-March. And just to make a quick presentation, our school is an eco school, a UNESCO associated school. We are Teach SDG ambassadors and water education for teachers partners. We started our digital transformation journey a few years ago, and now we are a Microsoft Showcase school. And we have been applying technology to enhance our teaching and learning processes. So at Escola Bosque, we were well placed to start the distance learning. But nevertheless, it was not an easy task to change the learning environment and to deliver good remote classes in such a short period of time. But we succeeded with a lot of work, teachers training. The key is to prepare the teachers, and we have a consistent professional learning program. We decided to create pilot classes, tutorials. We gave support to the teachers, students, parents. We created many channels for feedback to guide and orient our decisions, and to check if our decisions were good or needed improvement. We included videos, personalized help. Distance learning is a totally new situation for us, school leaders, because this kind of teaching involved the family routines. And we decided to build our distance learning program with the participation of teachers and families. Our classes schedule started with just a few hours of synchronous and asynchronous classes. And with the students and families' feedback, we changed it to the final schedule that we have now. With transparency and willing to hear all the stakeholders, the process was natural and flawless. It's really difficult for us, decision makers, make assumptions in this kind of situation where our vision is not wide enough. We need other points of view to make and to take the best decisions. Teachers are doing their best to create excellent classes that keep students engaged. They are being very creative. They are promoting many collaborative works. All the subjects are being contemplated, like music and also physical education classes. And we are also promoting many social-emotional activities, like this one where the students had as an assignment to praise someone and be kind to them, and then share with their peers the results of these acts of kindness. In this activity, they shared what they are doing during social distance to keep calm and centered. Here we have more examples about cell activities. It's so important to give them support because they are feeling anxious, they cannot see their friends. Parents are at home with many bills and house chores. They are normally stressed. And one thing that it's really fun is when we have thematic classes. So this science class, the theme was beach life. It was very fun for them. They really enjoyed it. And we are also offering personalized support to our special needs students. And gamification, it's widely used. With Minecraft, Kahoot, kids love. And they learn a lot with these tools. Awareness classes about COVID-19 are also important. And we are also gathering important data to help us in these data-driven decisions. In this example, we are using Microsoft Teams Insights to help teachers, coordinators, parents, and even the students keep track of their progresses and outcomes and help all the students who need more attention. We are even able to see which device the students are using to access the classes, and teachers can use this and all the informations to better prepare classes. They can track frequency, engagement, so we have many data to help us give directions to the teachers, students, and parents. And the results are excellent. Parents, teachers, students are happy with our remote learning, and especially with the students' outcomes. It's important to keep tracking of the results. Teachers are feeling motivated and empowered. It's really important to give them support and hear what they need and they want to say. These teachers are sharing how she felt so nice with the school support. This is really important for us, these feedbacks. And we keep, as in real life, not in just remote learning, our students as protagonists and engaged. And I really like this phrase. Our goal as educators is to create innovative minds to transform the world. Being an adaptive leader, it's a challenge, but we are creating a new and highly innovative and collaborative culture in our school. We're still learning, but it's an innovative process. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will be glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Silvia, for that presentation. I'm sure that there are many questions that our participants would like to ask you. Can I please just remind people to post their questions, and they will be forwarded to Silvia at the end of the session. And my final reminder is, in order to attend the next session, please go to the timeline in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Thank you, Silvia.